Today, we're tackling a philosophy that, well, it pretty much pushes back against the entire modern self-help machine.
Yeah, it really does.
We're talking about the art of saying no, the kind of radical power in accepting your limits, and, crucially, the idea that you have to choose your struggles.
Choosing your struggles, that's key.
So if you've ever felt just, exhausted by that constant pressure, that relentless push for curated positivity.
The highlight real life.
Exactly, that forced smile, the endless self-affirmation summarized in Mark Manson's book, the one with the title You Can't Ignore, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Feck.
Right. And it's such a powerful counter-narrative, isn't it, to almost everything we're usually sold about happiness. Our mission today, it isn't just to recap the book. It's really about pulling out the specific, maybe actionable bits of this philosophy.
The nuggets.
The nuggets, yeah. This whole framework argues that real fulfillment, it doesn't come from dodging struggles. It comes from caring about fewer things.
Fewer things.
Yes, and this is important. Dedicating your limited energy, your emotional, your mental energy, only to the struggles that genuinely matter.
Based on what, though?
Based on values that are actually rooted in reality, not just wishful thinking.
Okay, that's a compelling start. It really flips the script immediately. And when we look at the source, the author, Manson, he doesn't have that typical academic psych background, does he?
No, not at all. He came up through, dating advice blogs and that whole world.
Right, which kind of explains that very direct, no BS style he had.
Absolutely. It's brutally honest. He basically took that raw, sometimes controversial voice he developed and shaped it into this life philosophy. It's irreverent, but it's comprehensive in its own way.
So it's grounded in a different kind of experience.
Exactly. Think about it. Traditional self-help often starts with affirm your greatness. Manson starts by saying, look, life is inherently full of struggle. It just is.
Okay.
And the first step towards any kind of freedom is just accepting that, accepting reality.
It's grounded realism, like you said.
Yeah.
No sugarcoating.
Okay, let's unpack that central idea then, because the title, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Feck, it's designed to grab you, but taken literally, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Like apathy.
Right. Just checking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we talk about selective caring, what's the nuance? What's the subtle art part that we need to grasp right away?
Okay, this is probably the single most important point to clarify right at the start. Not giving a feck does not mean indifference. It's not nihilism. It's not apathy.
Okay.
In fact, apathy is kind of the problem this philosophy is trying to solve.
Yeah.
Apathy leads to doing nothing, to a meaningless existence.
Ah, okay. So it's not don't care about anything.
No. The subtle art is about the disciplined practice of selective caring. It's about choosing what gets your energy.
Yes. The core idea is that your time, your emotions, your attention, basically, your ability to care, it's finite. It's a limited resource.
Right.
He puts it very bluntly.
Yeah.
You only have a limited number of flacks to give.
A budget, essentially, an emotional energy budget.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You have to budget it wisely.
Yeah.
So if you decide to care really deeply about a few things that actually align with who you are, your core values, maybe your family, your work, whatever you've chosen.
The important stuff.
The important stuff. Then you literally won't have the emotional bandwidth left to waste on, say, petty annoyances, or worrying constantly about what others think, or getting sucked into every little drama that pops up online.
So it's a defense mechanism almost for your focus.
It's a framework for protecting your focus, yeah.
Yeah.
By actively deciding what you won't care about, what doesn't deserve that limited energy.
That makes sense. So not caring becomes an active choice, not just passive indifference.
Exactly. It takes effort to decide what not to engage with.
And this leads us right into the critique of modern culture, doesn't it? Why is this constant push for positivity, this, performative happiness? Why is that actually harmful, according to Manson?
It's harmful because that cultural demand that you must be happy and amazing all the time, it basically sets us all up for failure and for deep insecurity.
How so?
Well, if society, especially through things like social media, is constantly showing you curated perfection and telling you that's the norm.
Right, the highlight reel again.
Yeah. That anytime you feel discomfort or doubt or sadness or you have a setback, which are all perfectly normal human experiences, you start to see it as a personal failing, like something's wrong with you.
So we've essentially turned normal human difficulty into a pathology.
We absolutely have. And the insight here, I think, is really profound. Actually embracing discomfort, facing the sometimes ugly realities like accepting your own flaws or mistakes, that's what builds genuine strength, real resilience.
Not avoiding the negative feelings.
Right. When you try to shield yourself from everything negative, you accidentally shield yourself from the very things that help you grow emotionally and psychologically. The book argues that real fulfillment comes from that grounded realism, acknowledging life is often tough and messy, not from pretending everything's perfect with toxic positivity.
And the sources mention the book's structure, 9 chapters tackling things like responsibility, suffering. It doesn't sound like your typical quick fix happiness guide.
Not at all. It signals right away that this isn't about finding some magic key to permanent bliss.
It suggests happiness isn't really an endpoint, is it? More like something you do.
That's a huge shift the book asks you to make. We're culturally wired to see happiness as this static, achievable state, like a destination you arrive at if you just tick the right boxes.
And if you think that way.
You're guaranteed to be disappointed, right?
Right.
Because life will throw curveballs, reality intrudes. So Manson reframes it. Happiness isn't a state. It's a process.
A process of.
An active engagement with challenges, effectively managing the problems that inevitably come up.
Okay, so for you listening, the goal changes then. It's not how do I avoid all bad things.
No?
It becomes how do I get better at dealing with the bad things that are definitely going to happen.
Exactly that. The process itself, managing the challenges, applying your values to solve problems consistently, that's the good life.
Hmm.
The satisfaction isn't in having no problems. It's in the struggle itself, provided it's a meaningful struggle. It's in seeing yourself get more competent.
Right. Which brings us to probably the most counterintuitive part of this whole thing.
Hmm.
The idea that struggle itself is good, that pain isn't just something to endure, but something to be chosen, wisely chosen.
Mm-hmm.
We're practically wired to avoid pain. So how does this philosophy justify actively seeking it out, in a way? Let's get into suffering as a path to growth.
This is where that selective caring really locks in. When Manson talks about suffering as growth, he means moving beyond the trivial pains, the ego-driven stuff, like needing likes on social media or worrying if someone approves of you.
The superficial stuff.
Yeah, the superficial stuff. And instead, actively choosing to engage with pain or discomfort that actually produces something worthwhile, that leads to progress.
So productive pain versus pointless pain.
Exactly. The argument is really simple at its core. Meaningful pain is productive pain. It yields something valuable.
Can you give us some examples? Meaningful versus meaningless pain.
Sure. Think about going to the gym. You push yourself, you feel the burn, maybe muscle soreness the next day. That's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
That's a form of pain.
Definitely.
But it's meaningful pain because you chose it, and it leads directly to better physical health, strength, resilience. That's a controllable outcome you're working towards.
And meaningless pain.
Contrast that with, say, the anxiety and stress you feel endlessly scrolling through social media, comparing yourself to others, worrying about online comments, feeling inadequate. That's also a kind of suffering, an energy drain.
Yeah, it can be.
But it's passive. It's focused on external validation, things you can't control, other people's opinions, curated images. It doesn't really build anything solid within you. It just depletes you.
So the gym pain is chosen for growth. The social media pain is often just suffered.
Pretty much. And the book argues that the meaning in your life gets built day by actively selecting and taking on the right struggles, the ones that align with your chosen reality-based values.
That shifts the perspective entirely. If you see your life as a series of struggles you choose, suddenly even hardship feels less like something happening to you and more like something you're actively engaged in.
It's empowering, even in difficulty.
But then there's that frustrating truth. Problems don't actually disappear, do they? You solve one big thing and then, well, usually more complex things pop up.
Oh, yeah. That observation is absolutely central to this whole philosophy. And honestly, it might be the most liberating insight in the book. Problems never end. They just evolve. They just get replaced by different, hopefully better problems. We have to let go of this fantasy that solving our current problem will lead to some kind of permanent, problem-free bliss. That's just not how life works.
It sounds almost like problems are necessary.
The book argues they are. The very act of engaging with and solving problems is what gives life its texture, its meaning, its forward momentum. Think about it. If all problems were magically solved forever, what would we even do?
Would stagnate, I guess.
We'd stop growing. We'd probably lose our sense of purpose pretty quickly. There'd be nothing to strive for.
So how does this idea of evolving problems play out across a typical life?
Well, think about different life stages. When you're a student, maybe your big problems are passing exams, figuring out relationships, managing a tiny budget, feels huge at the time, right?
Definitely.
Okay, you solve those, you graduate. Now your problems evolve. You enter the workforce. Suddenly, your problems aren't about passing a test. They're about, I don't know, leading a project, dealing with difficult colleagues, maybe buying a house, managing investments.
Bigger scale, different complexity.
Exactly. The stress of the young professional worried about rent is real. But it's a different kind of problem than the stress of, say, a CEO managing a huge company crisis. Both are problems. Both involve struggle.
But the CEO's problems are, in a sense, better problems to have than the students.
That's the idea. Growth isn't about eliminating problems. It's about graduating to solving better problems, problems that indicate progress.
So if your biggest worry is which of your 2 vacation homes needs renovating.
That's objectively a better problem to have than worrying about where your next meal is coming from. It signifies you've solved some more fundamental problems along the way.
Right, it's a marker of progress.
And this is where the philosophy stays grounded. It touches on ideas from, say, nihilism, the idea that the universe might not have inherent meaning.
Which can be a scary thought.
It can be. But then it immediately pivots towards something like stoicism.
Mm-hmm.
Says, okay, if there's no prepackaged meaning, then you have to create it. And you create it by choosing your values and choosing the struggles that align with those values.
You build your own meaning through action.
Through chosen struggle.
Yeah, okay. So if problems are just part of the deal, part of being human, what's the practical takeaway? How should we approach our days knowing this?
The practical expectation is, stop being surprised when things go wrong. Stop being disappointed when life is hard. Expect problems. They're coming.
That sounds a bit bleak.
It might sound bleak initially, but it's actually incredibly freeing. If you stop expecting life to be a smooth ride, you stop feeling personally attacked or let down every time there's a bump.
You adjust your baseline expectation.
Exactly. And the focus shifts. Don't chase that temporary external state of feeling good, because that depends on circumstances you often can't control.
Chase what instead?
Chase getting better. Focus on your effort, your values, your response. Focus on the progress you make by tackling the meaningful struggles you've chosen. That's internal, that's controllable.
That focus on response leads perfectly into the next big idea, responsibility. And the book takes this concept way beyond just, admitting when you messed up. It talks about responsibility. What's that about?
Yeah, this concept is really fundamental to finding any sense of power within this philosophy. Maturity, according to Manson, isn't just about owning your mistakes. It's about accepting responsibility for everything in your life, even the things that are absolutely 100% not your fault.
Wait, that sounds wrong. How can I be responsible for something I didn't cause? Like, if someone hits my car, that's not my fault.
Right. And the book makes a critical distinction here between fault and responsibility. Fault is about the past who caused the event. Responsibility is about the present and future who owns the response, who deals with the consequences.
Okay, break that down with the car example.
Okay, someone hits your car. Fault lies with the other driver. Clearly not your fault. But whose responsibility is it to call the insurance company, to arrange repairs, to deal with the inconvenience, the paperwork, maybe finding alternative transport?
Fine, I guess.
It's yours, even though it wasn't your fault. Now, you could spend all your energy blaming the other driver, railing against how unfair it is, feeling like a victim.
Which is tempting.
Very tempting. But ultimately, that doesn't fix your car. It just drains your energy. Accepting responsibility, even when it's not your fault, means saying, okay, this happened, now how do I respond effectively?
So the responsibility principle isn't about blame. It's about agency, about where you focus your energy.
Precisely. It's an optimization strategy for your energy and focus.
Okay.
By accepting responsibility for your response, you immediately shift out of victim mode. You take back control over the only thing you can control. Your reaction, your interpretation, your next actions.
That little space between stimulus and response.
Exactly. That's where your power lies. Regardless of how unfair or awful the external event might be, choosing to care about your response stops you from wasting precious energy raging against things you can't change.
Okay, that's empowering. But then the philosophy throws another curveball. It asks us to ditch a really deep-seated cultural belief. The idea that we're all special. It suggests accepting you're not special. In a world that bombards us with messages about being unique, destined for greatness. Why is embracing ordinariness actually liberating, according to this view?
It's liberating because, the book argues, that constant obsessive pursuit of being extraordinary or special usually comes from a place of deep insecurity.
A need for validation.
A desperate need for external validation. Yeah, think about it. If everyone is told they must be exceptional, then just being average, just living a normal human life, starts to feel like failure.
That sets an impossibly high bar.
An exhausting one. If you're always striving to be exceptional, you're always performing, always comparing,
Yeah.
always signaling your status. It's incredibly draining and ultimately unstable because it depends on outdoing others or meeting external benchmarks.
So accepting your limits, your ordinariness, is like letting go of that performance anxiety.
Exactly. It's the antidote. When you accept that you have flaws, that you have limits, that statistically you might be pretty average in many ways, there's this huge psychological relief.
How so?
You stop wasting energy on that exhausting competition with impossible societal standards. You stop needing external metrics, likes, promotions, applause to feel okay about yourself. You're forced to find self-worth internally.
Which leads to.
Two key things the author highlights. First, genuine purpose. Because your goals are no longer tied to being better than everyone else, they can be rooted in your actual values. Second, genuine connection. You can finally relate to people based on shared humanity, not competition or status games.
It's like you can finally just settle into yourself, accept your own personal reality.
It's the freedom that comes with authentic humility. You're free from the tyranny of constantly needing to prove something and all that energy you were wasting trying to convince the world and yourself that you're special. You can redirect all of it into the things that actually matter. Upholding your chosen values, tackling your chosen struggles, doing meaningful work.
Okay, this feels like a natural transition to the most practical part, the values audit. If we're going to choose our struggles wisely, we need a compass, right? We need to define what actually matters to us. How does the book help us figure out good values versus bad ones?
This is absolutely critical because the whole philosophy hinges on choosing the right struggles, and the rightness comes from your underlying values. The book argues that a lot of suffering comes from mistakenly basing our lives on what it calls shitty values or negative values.
Negative values. Like
Yeah.
they sound like things many people chase.
Exactly. They often are things culture tells us to chase.
Think about values rooted primarily in, say, pleasure, the need to feel good all the time, or values based on material success, like making the most money, or values based on always being liked or getting external approval.
Okay, why are those negative or shitty? They seem pretty common. They're negative because they're inherently unstable and often outside of your direct control. Take pleasure. It's fleeting by nature. If your main goal is always feeling good, you're setting yourself up for constant disappointment and potentially addictive behaviors trying to maintain it.
Because bad feelings are inevitable.
Right. Or take money. If wealth is your core value, your sense of self-worth is tied to market fluctuations, economic downturns, things largely beyond your individual control. Very stressful.
And external approval.
Maybe the worst of the bunch.
Yeah.
If your value is being liked, you've basically outsourced your happiness entirely to the whims and opinions of other people. That's a recipe for constant anxiety. These kinds of values make you dependent on fickle external factors.
So negative values essentially put your self-worth in someone else's hands or at the mercy of circumstance.
Perfectly put. So what are the good values, the positive examples?
Yeah, what should we be aiming for instead?
The book recommends choosing values that are reality-based, socially constructive, and internally controllable. Things like honesty, responsibility, humility, curiosity, assertiveness, generosity.
Things you can practice regardless of the situation.
Exactly. They offer meaningful, manageable struggles.
Okay, let's take one. How does choosing, say, honesty lead to better struggles?
Well, choosing honesty as a core value means you're choosing the struggle of sometimes having difficult conversations. It means confronting uncomfortable truths, maybe admitting when you don't know something, accepting criticism gracefully.
That sounds hard.
It is hard, that's the struggle, but it's a struggle you control through your own actions.
Yeah.
And the outcome is building trust, integrity, strong relationships, things that are incredibly valuable and stable. It builds character.
Then humility.
Choosing humility means choosing the struggle of admitting you're wrong, accepting your limits, understanding you don't have all the answers. Painful for the ego, sure, but it leads directly to learning, growth, better connections.
And responsibility, we covered owning your response.
Right. Choosing the struggle of taking ownership even when things aren't your fault. Again, it's tough, but it gives you power and builds self-respect. These are struggles you can win every single day just based on your internal choices and effort.
So the values audit is really about asking, is the discomfort I'm feeling right now in service of a value like honesty or responsibility? Or is it just chasing fleeting pleasure or external approval?
That's the core question. Is this pain productive or is it pointless?
And once you have that clarity on your values, it must have a huge impact on how you manage your time and energy. It forces you to see that every yes you give has a real cost.
Oh, absolutely.
How does the book encourage using no as a tool to protect that limited supply of fricks to give?
This becomes the practical day-to-day application of selective caring. You have to get good at saying no,
Mm.
maybe even ruthless about it sometimes.
Why ruthless?
Because your energy, your focus, your fix, they are strictly limited. Every single time you say yes to something, an obligation, a request, an event that doesn't truly align with your core reality-based values,
You're spending that limited budget.
you're draining the tank. You're taking focus and peace away from the things that do actually matter to you. The analysis is straightforward. We often say yes out of guilt or fear of conflict or FOMO or just wanting that little hit of temporary approval.
We choose the short-term comfort of avoiding saying no over the long-term benefit of protecting our energy.
We do it all the time. And the book urges you to flip that. Protect your energy budget fiercely. If a potential struggle isn't meaningful according to your values, if it doesn't contribute to honesty or responsibility or whatever you've chosen, then the brief, temporary discomfort of saying no, politely but firmly, is a very small price to pay for safeguarding your core focus and your sanity. If you just say yes to everything that comes along, you'll inevitably end up spread thin, stressed out, and caring deeply about a bunch of things that ultimately add no real meaning to your life while neglecting the things that could.
Saying no becomes an act of self-respect based on your values.
Exactly. It's prioritizing what truly matters.
And then finally, the book brings in something pretty profound and maybe unexpected in a self-help context. Memento mori, death awareness.
Remember, you will die.
That's not usually chapter 1 in the positive thinking guides. Why is contemplating mortality the ultimate filter here? How does it help with selective caring?
It's powerful because death awareness is the great equalizer. It's the ultimate perspective tool. When you genuinely confront the reality that your time is finite, that this life will end.
It puts things in perspective.
Instantly. All those trivial worries, the anxieties about external validation, the small slights, the desperate need to appear special or impress people you don't even like, they just shrink. They lose their power almost immediately.
Because compared to death, they seem insignificant.
Right. If you know your time is limited, every single decision about where you allocate your precious energy, your focus, your care, it suddenly becomes incredibly high stakes, urgent even.
The question shifts from, should I do this, to, is this worth the irreplaceable time I have left?
Precisely that. Is this struggle, this worry, this commitment worth a piece of my finite life? Am I spending my limited focus obsessing over some superficial value like popularity, or am I prioritizing something core, like honesty in my relationships, or contributing something meaningful through my work?
Death awareness forces radical prioritization.
It does. And the book encourages using this awareness not in a morbid, depressing way, but as an energizing call to action. A final, ultimate check. Are you spending your limited fix on the struggles that genuinely matter? The ones that align with your values and lead towards growth and meaning as you define it?
Wow. Okay. This has been a really insightful deep dive. It fundamentally reframes so much. It's basically saying, stop trying so hard to be positive all the time. Be realistic instead.
Endlessly realistic, yeah.
And the core shift is moving away from avoiding struggle and towards proactively choosing meaningful struggle, defining those strong reality-based values, and yeah, accepting our limits as humans.
That's the heart of it. The core lesson, if you want to boil it down, is that real fulfillment in life comes from the discipline of selective caring. Caring deeply about the right things, the things rooted in reality, the things you can actually influence, the values you choose consciously, not from trying to care about everything or pretending to.
Your care is finite. Spend it wisely.
Spend it wisely on struggles that help you get better, not just struggles that promise to make you feel good momentarily.
Which brings us to our final thought for you, listening. If problems truly never end, and if growth really means graduating to solving better problems, then here's the question to mull over. What current struggle in your life, if you were to actually solve it, would unlock the next more meaningful struggle for you? Take a moment, maybe later today, to audit where your energy, your fix are actually going.
Check that budget.
Check the budget. Are you spending it on problems rooted in chasing external approval or fleeting pleasure? Or are you investing it in struggles aligned with those core controllable values like honesty, humility, responsibility? It's a crucial selection.
Think about that selection.